The gentleman from Oregon is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 4 minutes to the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Big.
Gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. It's great to be here. I got a kick out of the gentleman from Tennessee showing his age. He's talking about pot when it was 2% THC. He's thinking pot's still this drug where people get goofy and they eat Cheetos and nacho cheese Doritos. He's not talking about the 99% THC pot that's being sold in some of these states where they've legalized recreational pot. So I think that's really fun and anachronistic. Very good to go back and think about how things were in the late 60s, early 70s. But let's talk about, how about a Mother Jones article that I have before me where they are analyzing the use of pot and they're talking about, hey, look, this is what happens. You start seeing paranoia and psychosis come in, and they're referring to New Zealand studies, long-term longitudinal studies about the dangers of pot. That's interesting. We're not going to even talk about that because we don't have time to talk about that because we're focusing here on descheduling marijuana. And what that does is that incentivizes marijuana use and distribution. But this bill is also reckless in its approach. It provides no limits on or requirements to clearly identify the potency of marijuana or its extracts or concentrates. In 95, for instance, the THC concentration was about 4% on average. Today, it goes between 20 and 99%. It also doesn't deal with what the Surgeon General says needs to be the case, that the age limit should be under age 25. This doesn't get into any age limit. Doesn't cover that, yet that's what the Surgeon General says. In fact, the Surgeon General's advisory says human brain continues to develop from birth into the mid-20s, vulnerable to the effects of addictive substances, I don't know, like marijuana. In fact, it goes on to say frequent marijuana use during adolescence is associated with changes in the areas of the brain involving attention, memory, decision-making, and motivation. Adolescent marijuana use is associated with declines in IQ, school performance and attendance, and life satisfaction, increased rates of suicide attempts. And you know what this bill does? It's a lot of fun, folks. What it does is says, you know, you can distribute this under federal law anyway, you can distribute this to an 11-year-old kid. 11-year-old kid's going to have marijuana, be able to use it. You can't do anything to them here for that, that's for sure. But what it does do is it creates a tax crime, So you get rid of your marijuana crime, creates some tax crimes, and we all know how great the tax code is for being ease of use and understanding. Section 3 of the bill removes marijuana from the Schedule of Controlled Substances Act. It would no longer be a federal crime to possess or sell marijuana, including to 11-year-olds. Section 5, however, puts it into the tax code. I think there's another fun aspect here. It talks about 600,000 arrests annually, yet the reality is that's for state and local crimes. In fact, there were 1,100 marijuana convictions in 2020. You know what those, under federal law, you know what those convictions were? Those were for transport distribution. Yeah, now you're not going to be able to get to anybody for that. So let's talk about how well this has worked in the LA Times pieces that talk about this. LA Times does a massive expose. What do they find out? They say Prop 64 was going to solve all these problems. Solve the problems. Instead, what you have are thousands of illegal grow dispensaries. Why? Because they have a Byzantine code like what these guys are setting up here today. And so you have a crisis in LA County, San Bernardino County, and also in Riverside County. Those grow farms use forced labor, as Mr. Bentz so eloquently talked about, the Oregon grow farms. These are being run in Southern California by the cartels who originate in Mexico, Ukraine, Russia, Bulgaria, and China. Yeah, that's what you're going to do. You're going to federalize this. Well done. This is a piece of garbage. I oppose this legislation, and I'll yield back.